So we're going to start.
Are we waiting for Adam, Stephen?
Let me text him. He's
okay. All right. So we said that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has a mercy to creation, or as a kind of chesed, right? Gave the opportunity to humanity to choose which direction they want to go. He put the world as at the center of their life, right? And not God, not himself. And gave the opportunity for people to choose to see all his greatness and be in awe of him in order to be able to fear him, right? To have yirat haromemut. That's Pasuk Yud Dalet. Pasuk Tedvav. Ma she'haya kvar hu. What happened is already there. Va'asher lihyot kvar haya. Right? It goes back to ma she'haya u'ma she'yeh. And whatever is about to be already happened. Ve'elohim yevakesh et nirdaf. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu has a close eye on the one that is nirdaf, the one that is nirdaf is the one that you right. So we're gonna take a second for this.
Rob, I'm sorry.
Understand this.
I'm sorry, you broke up. You broke up. I'm sorry, I didn't hear what nirdaf means.
The thought after, the one that you run after. There's a concept of rodef and yirdaf. If you need to go after someone, you run after him, or to kill him, or to capture him, or to pursue.
So somebody that chases after being close to Hashem.
Oh, so one second. That's the Sforno. The Sforno says that. Says that. But we're going to take a second and dive into this pasuk. Okay? So the Rambam wants to introduce an idea at the end of the 8th chapter, or in the 8th chapter of the Shmone Parkei, his introduction to Pirkei Avot. He says that people might think that when HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world, and he's touching, just to give you a perspective, a context. The Rambam is talking about Hashgacha Pratit, how HaKadosh Baruch Hu interact with humans. And he has a very unique way of looking at things, in a very pragmatic and factual outlook. For a very specific reason, and that's because he's talking to a community that is extremely intellectual at the time and have a very hard time connecting to spirituality. So they are influenced by philosophy, by the modern medicine at his time, and do not accept so easily the blind faith and blind concepts. So he chooses to go and address this community, which is a vast community, and will try to introduce God on the most pragmatic and realistic level possible, factual level possible. So people might think that he is almost, right, touching atheism in the way that he introduces Hashem, because he takes away all the spiritual impact, or the metaphysical impact or influence that God has in our lives. And he says, and obviously people that don't understand who the Rambam was and why the Rambam was writing what he wrote, and the consistency in all his writings, they take the Rambam out of context. Okay? Completely. Some of this crowd is called, and I'm not attacking or saying anything on anybody, but the definition of the white hat, right? That seems, at least to my knowledge, I don't understand them neither, but to my knowledge, it seems that they took portions of what the Rambam say and made it a law to appease their way of living, okay, and to rationalize their behavior on a very, very liberal side. Okay, I'm not targeting anyone, or I'm just talking about the concept. All right.
We're good here. We don't have to worry.
No, I'm just something relates to. I'm not talking to you guys, but if somebody listens to the shur, I don't want them to think that I'm going against anyone. I'm not going against anyone. I'm just saying that the Rambam wrote what he wrote for a very specific reason. So the Rambam introduces in the concept of hashgacha pratit, of the interaction between Hashem and humanity, with one position, okay? And he says that some people think that God micromanages every aspect of creation, from the trajectory of a leaf that falls from a tree to the direction an ant walks to the prey, the exact prey the lion will want to attack, to lifting my arm or lifting my finger. Okay? And he says that a lot of people believe that this is how God interacts with creation. And what is a philosophical understanding of that? He says, how is that happening? So there's two vision to that. One is to say that HaKadosh Baruch Hu continuously does that, okay? And if that's the case, then the Rambam has a problem, because he says then there's no room for free will, right? And if there's no room for free will, and again, there's no reason to introduce concept of sachar and onesh, right? Reward or punishment. Because if God controls everything, then if you did avera, he cannot punish you for that. And then if that's the case, then what's the point of doing mitzvot? Because he's doing it for you.
What's the point of anything, right?
It's exactly okay. So that's one optic. The other optic, which is a little bit more scientific but follows the same path, is to say that basically God when he created Sheshet Maaseh Bereshit, the creation, he injected in it every behavior of every individual and the fate of everyone inside the creation. And as creation evolves, right, so people come and play the role that God imposed, okay? It's like a book, right? The book is written. You don't know about the book. But if your story is in chapter 22, so that's when you come in, right? And it's already written. And when was all this decided? It's not continuous. It was decided during Sheshet Yemei Bereshit, at the time of creation, and that's it. And now everything is just unwinding. So the Rambam also has a problem with that, the same problem that we addressed earlier, because in that case, then, again, we have no control, and we have the destiny basically dictates everything. But also it means that God really doesn't have an interaction with us anymore, right? That's it. He wrote his book, and he put it on the shelf, and it's just happening. So the Rambam wants to say that this is not the case. He says that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created rules and regulations. That's what we addressed yesterday. Okay? He brought to the world laws, big laws. And he put on the planet species. And among those species, he imposed some laws also. Each species has a nature, has a purpose. And says the Rambam, from that point on, he lets the world be. He oversees the world, but he lets it happen. Okay? So, when the creation evolves, it evolves naturally within the parameters of creation. Okay? So if a tree has to grow, the Rambam doesn't care according to the Rambam, Hashem doesn't care if the tree is 6 feet tall or 20 feet tall, as long as this tree, this type of tree exists. Same thing with animals. They have tendencies. They have they have traits, right? Animalistic traits. And those traits, the same thing, we don't expect the lion to be behaving like a giraffe, and we don't expect the monkey to behave like a dolphin. Okay? However, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave the koach habechira, the ability to choose and control 100% of your actions to humans. And he separated human from the rest of creation. Now, where does the hashgacha, where does the presence and the interaction of Hashem comes in? Based on the will of man to connect to God. So the more you allow God to be in your life, the more God acts with you. Very simple. And he says, this is Tzadik Veralot or Rasha Vetovlo. All these concepts that are very hard to understand depend on the actions of men. And the Siyata Dishmaya, the help of God, when we say Be'ezrat Hashem, what does Be'ezrat Hashem mean? Okay? How can Hashem help me if I'm in control? Well, it's very simple. Hashem showers upon the world wisdom, grace, bracha, abundance, and depending on how much I allow Him to come into my life, this will be the interaction. So Hashem does not interfere unless we invite Him. Okay? And the more you invite, the more he interferes, to the point where you want to be in a place where you choose not to choose, where you choose to allow HaKadosh Baruch Hu and His vision and His Torah to dictate, if you will, your behavior in life. And the more you do that, and the more you emulate God's presence in creation, and you basically become the ambassador of God, and the reflection of His will. And that makes you Ish HaElokim, a man of God.
But also, the more you let Him in, the more guilt you feel.
Well, it's not guilt. It's not guilt. You have to be careful with this statement. The concept of guilt is, look, I didn't get to the depth of what guilt really means. Okay? The concept of charata for me is still a parasha that is very hard to something intellectual, or is guilt something emotional? If it's emotional, if it's just if you feel bad and it's an emotion, then emotions change, right? So one day you will feel bad, but the next day you're going to do the same thing again. Just like one moment you can love someone, the other one you can be upset. So if it's an emotion, then it's really not real. It's just a reaction to a situation, right? That's what emotions are. There's a situation that triggers an emotion. Now, if it's intellectual, right, it's something I understand, okay, then if I understand it, then it stays very rational, right? So what does charata mean, feeling bad? I can understand that there's something bad. So you understood you did bad, but you're understanding it and feeling bad about it is two different things. So there is a hybrid version where charata, where the guilt really brings the mind and the heart and creates something new. That is called charata. That is called the guilt. Okay? And that specific hybrid and how it works, I'm not 100% sure yet. A lot of people talk about the guilt. And why? And it's a subject that I've learned for many, many years, but I'm still not there. And the reason why I started diving into the concept of charata was because of a book I read when I was in yeshiva called, I'm sure you heard of Mein Kampf. the book written by Hitler.
Yeah, Hitler. Yeah.
And basically what he wrote, and one of his biggest and strongest arguments against Jews was the guilt. He says in Mein Kampf that guilt is an invention of the Jews. And it's weakness. Why? He says because you see, the world is a big, it's a jungle, right? Did you ever see a lion feel guilty for its prey?
No.
So why should humans be different? So there shouldn't be any guilt. Invention of man, of the Jews, he says, to weaken society in order to take advantage of society. And that's why
a lion doesn't know what's right and what's wrong. Humans
why
do.
should they be right and wrong? It's the law of the strong.
Okay,
strong,
but humans have right and wrong. We have laws. We have mitzvot that we have to stick to, and we have averot.
You're
So
going back
that's
to
where
right
the
and
guilt
wrong.
comes from.
Correct, but right and wrong is subjective. Don't forget, right? And he used what's right to him as the truth, right? To impose a new vision, a new Reich, and part of that is to eradicate and erase from the map the weak, right? The cancer. And who was that? The people that install fear and weakness in humanity. And who are them? The Jews. Why? Because they introduced what is called the guilt. You cannot be guilty. That's why the Germans in Machemam, the Nazis, they could kill someone, wash their hands, and respect each other as if nothing happened. As if nothing happened. How is that possible? We don't understand it. We don't understand it. So and that triggered something in my mind of, okay, so what is charata? Every Rosh Hashanah, we want to do teshuvah, right? So you have a few things, right? You have azivat hachet, you have to let go of the chet. You have the charata, you have to feel guilty. You have vidui, so I'm sorry. The kabbalah le'atid, and you take upon yourself not to do it again, right? So what is charata? What is guilt? What is it?
It's knowing that you did something wrong.
Oh, but okay. So it's not so. Okay. So it's knowledge. It has nothing to do with emotions. So it's not guilt, because when you talk about guilt, it's a feeling.
Right.
No, it's knowing that you did something wrong, but also accepting the fact. It's knowing that you're doing something wrong, but accepting the fact that you want it to have been different. So it's like you said, it's the combination of your own emotions reacting to the knowledge. Good.
That's the direction. I don't have a clear-cut understanding of what guilt really means. I don't. Okay, but if we go back, this is charata. Okay, I don't have. That's the closest.
I had a question. I just don't want to forget it about the Rambam. Just going back a little bit before we got to guilt. In his world, I'm sorry, as he sees this world where we interact with Hashem, how does he think about reward and punishment in this world? Because forgetting for a second whether someone invites Hashem to be part of their world, we still believe that there's some element of, reward and punishment in this world as well, right? Or does he not?
Well, it's just what you generate.
So it's just happenstance?
Yes, it's random. According to the Rambam, you generate based on your actions and outcome.
But I feel like all over our Torah is things that nothing is happenstance. All over the Torah.
The what?
I feel like everywhere I read in the Torah is nothing is happenstance. That's part of what we believe, that nothing is by mistake, that everything traces.
No, there's no mistake. There's no mistake. There's absolutely no mistake. There is a direction and a tendency that pushes you in a direction, right? Based on your actions or based on your reactions that generates an outcome.
Right.
Okay? And out of this, you have what is called miracles, where Hashem needs to interfere, okay, and stop that.
Some
of those miracles some of those miracles was the introduction of Hashem to Abraham,
Right.
or Hashem taking out Am Israel, right? You don't see too many, or giving Am Israel the man. You don't see too many of these miracles in the Torah. And
Right.
Chachamim say Hashem doesn't like to make miracles. How is that? If you hold that Hashem does everything all the time, every second, then every second he's doing a miracle. Because what's a miracle? It's something that is unusual. And if Hashem micromanages everything all the time, that there's nothing usual. Everything is unusual. So if everything is unusual, everything is a miracle. And if everything is a miracle, so what's the concept of miracle? There's no concept of miracle. Because everything is a miracle.
So he thinks it's like Hunger Games. You know that movie Hunger Games?
No.
It's like, Stephen, you know what I'm talking about?
I don't know what it is.
Watch the trailer of this movie Hunger Games. It's these gamesmen. They create a world. They drop people in it to live in it. It's just survive, right? And they let it be. But then when they feel like interfering, they interfere. They move the board. They create rain. They create wind. And that affects everybody in the board.
Yeah. Okay,
like
so maybe
that's
something like that. Maybe something like that. Maybe the new version of the Rambam, 2020, the coronavirus version. Okay. So according to the Rambam, okay, your actions will dictate the outcome. Okay? So this is hashgacha. This is hashgacha. So comes Shlomo HaMelech, says, "Ma she'haya kvaru," everything that was put in place, says the Rambam, Hashem put in place rules and regulations and laws of nature. That's what they are. Va'asher liyot kvar haya. And you know what? And the future has already happened. What does that mean? What's about to happen is already preset in creation. The laws of nature, right? The laws of nature. Things you cannot have control over. Now, Ve'elokim, and God, and when we say Ve'elokim, we mean, we're talking about Hashem's interference in creation. That's what Elokim means, right? The one that is how Hashem reflects or interacts through the nature. Okay? Okay? So
he wants you to invite him into your life to disrupt those laws.
Correct. That's what he wants.
Right.
Okay? But Yevakesh et HaNirdaf. So the Nirdaf, we said it's the pursuit. Now the pursuit can be or the Nirdaf of your nefesh. Okay? What does that mean? What does that mean, the nefesh? Is that we run after our neshama. We want, there's a rodef and a nirdaf in the Torah. The nirdaf, just so that you understand, the nirdaf in the Torah is a person that killed without intentions. Okay? He was cutting, he had an axe, he was cutting wood, the blade of the axe flew, killed someone. All right? So he's scared. He has to go to what is called Ir Miklat. He has to go to the gated community to be protected. So he runs. He's the Nirdaf. A family member of the person that has been killed has the right to run after that guy and kill him. Okay? Now, the person has to get to that gated community before he's caught by one of the family members. All right? So that's
sounds
the
like Hunger
Rodef
Games.
and the Nirdaf.
Right,
Okay.
Steve?
The Metzudat David explained. What?
No, he's saying that my analogy of the Hunger Games, it really sounds like it.
Okay. So the Rodef, says the Metzudat David, is your animalistic instinct that tries to kill what? The influence of your neshama. Your neshama is something that's running for survival, and finding a place of existence within your essence. But at all time, you have those reactions, you have those tendencies that always try to overcome this the neshama, not to give room for the neshama to exist. Because once the neshama,
so it tries to create an obstacle for the neshama.
More than an obstacle. The Rabbeinu Nissim says on the Divrei Chachamim, Yud Gimel Shana Kadam Yetzer Hara LeYetzer Tov. 13 years, okay, the Yetzer Hara came 13 years before the Yetzer Tov, meaning that by the time you start getting accustomed to your Yetzer Tov, your Yetzer Hara is already a big guy, took control over the entire body. So the Yetzer Hara, your tendencies, your comforts, your fears, your behavior doesn't want the guilt to come in, right? You don't want to feel guilty, right? So you rationalize, or you never go out of your comfort zone. Okay, so although
Rav, when you're sleeping or when you're let's say blackout drunk, is that's obviously not your nefesh and your ruach. Is that your neshama that's acting for you? Like where is those thoughts and where are those actions coming from?
Okay, so that's okay. So when a person goes to sleep, okay, the Or HaChaim HaKadosh explains, he has a beautiful explanation on that. Depending on the level of your actions, your neshama will be able to elevate itself and enter different levels of the world. There's 7 layers, 7 worlds. So you can, depending on how high you go, your dream becomes more and more realistic and more real. You can see those prophetic dreams. And the worse your actions are, so it's like the heaviest your neshama is. So what it does, it just floats. That's it. And the nefesh takes full control over the body. The Rambam speaks about it. He says this is why you dream so much. You have those crazy dreams that mean nothing. Why? Because the koach hadimion is in the nefesh. And he also says the body, right, generates the most, works the most, if you want, when you're asleep. You digest. The reason why you're so refreshed when you wake up is because your body kind of go back into equilibrium, into a reboot, right? Into a reboot. So you see, says the Rambam, and that's in Perek Aleph and Perek Bet of the Shmoneh Prakim. He says you see that the body resets while you're asleep, right? So that's full control of the nefesh.
Can you just go back to the part about dreams? So can you dream at any level?
Yes, you can have dreams that are completely that you will never remember. That means nothing.
No, I'm talking about, let's say somebody wakes up, they remember a dream vividly with vivid characters. Could that be at any level?
Yes, sure.
Right.
And
you say the more, right? Keep going.
No, the more aligned your actions are with the Torah, the more that means you empowered your neshama. The more you empower your neshama, the more your neshama can actually go back to its source, right, and elevate itself. And the higher your neshama is when you sleep, the more it's detached from physicality, and the more it can actually see through time.
And how are you supposed to decipher your own dreams in terms of what is supposed to be meaningful?
So there's the Gemara.
And what's true versus good?
In Masechet Brachot, Perek HaRoeh, there's a whole Perek on the definitions of dreams. Okay, today more, and today and before, Chachamim didn't give too much attention to dreams because it's so difficult to identify if a dream is real or not. And there are very few people that have the knowledge to actually interpret properly the dreams. Okay?
What do you mean real or not?
At the time of Yosef HaTzadik, right? So his brothers told him, your dreams are nonsense. And he said, no, it was prophetic dreams. Already at the time of Yosef HaTzadik, you see that there's a machloket whether dreams are real or not.
So are we having prophetic dreams also? Is it possible
for sure,
humans
for sure
of today could have?
For
or
sure.
It's just
there's
our
no
imagination
way.
running crazy.
No, hold on. Stephen, hold on. There's no way, like, I could tell you, at least for myself, I don't think there's a 1% chance that my dreams are prophetic. There's no way I'm at a high enough level in my life where I'm getting prophetic dreams. No way.
No, that's not true. That's not true. That's not true. No, that's not true. You can have, maybe not for the community, not for the nation. It's not God telling you, making you a prophet. but what I mean by prophetic dream is by seeing something that's about to happen in your dream.
He's scaring me because I had a lot of dreams in the last few weeks.
Okay, but you'll know if it's real or not. You'll know if it's real or not.
I don't know.
But it does happen, yes, 100%. 100%.
But not only, there could be prophetic, and there could also be dreams that, one second. There could also be dreams that, somebody is coming to you and speaking to you, somebody that passed on and things like that, or?
Correct. Yes.
I had 4 or 5 dreams of Papa after he passed away. Vivid.
Okay, but that's
clear.
Yeah, but that could be due to very different
emotions. Thoughts,
emotions.
Emotion. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. But we don't know. We don't know. Maybe it was a message. I don't know. I don't want to go into that, but it's definitely possible and happening to a lot of people. Okay.
All right, let's jump.
One more thing. For example, I had a dream where, Papa was in it and I was asking him questions and he was responding. So those answers, does that mean they live somewhere deep inside of me, or is it possible I was really talking to him,
Both can be true. Both can be true.
I'm operating under the assumption right now that they don't mean anything. I'm just going to continue on.
That's fine. That's already your choice. But the reality is that the answer is yes. It happens to people. Now the dream. There's a lot of factors you have to bring into the equation.
Yeah, I only say that because I know I don't have the wisdom to interpret it. That's the only reason why I say it. Not that they don't have meaning.
That's fair.
I'm not wise enough to interpret that.
Right. I guess take what you want to take out of it and use it for good.
Yep. Okay. So basically, what Shlomo HaMelech comes back and says, he says, although everything is set, okay, but be careful, because Hashem, the interaction with with life or with God that hides inside the laws of nature, okay, is set in a way that He will always push you, okay? There will be an inclination of nature to push you, Shama. So, although you're in full control of your actions, and although you preset or you lay the ground for what's about to happen based on your actions and what you generate, okay, there is another factor into the equation that is Hashem's will for you to reveal your neshama.
Can you explain that last point?
There is part of the wills of God. The same way Hashem has the will of the law of gravity, right? Law of gravity is part of the will of God.
Okay.
Okay. Or any laws, okay, of physics, of chemistry, any laws, okay. One of those laws, is called one thing. Hashem wants people to find Him. He gives them the choice, but He's looking to see if you can find Him. So
that's the concept of the rodef or the nirdaf.
That's right.
I understand.
That's right. Yevakesh et nirdaf. HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants the ones that are nirdaf. Now, if the more, and now think it makes great sense. The more you empower your neshama, the more you do mitzvot, and the more that bakasha, that desire of God that's hidden within the laws of nature, right, becomes a magnetic force, brings you closer. So now you're able to see God through nature, not just an interaction that is spiritual, but you can actually see the interaction of God through nature. Yeah. This is, for example, something that Eov mastered, or something that Yaakov mastered. Eov said, "Mi besari ehaze Eloka." From my flesh I see God. What does that mean? That means that he was able to crack the laws of nature and see the interaction of Hashem through nature.
Right. It's this concept in Ashrei. We say, "Karov Hashem lekol kore'av lechol asher yikreu be'emet." Those who call out to Him in truth.
That's right.
I knew it was ringing in my head somewhere.
Yes, exactly. Very accurate. Now, and the other explanation which is the explanation of the Sforno. And what is Nirdaf? Is the Torah. People push aside the Torah. People belittle the Torah. People don't give attention to the Torah. So, although the laws of nature are set, and you might think that you're in control once you understand and master those laws, Comme Shlomo HaMelech said, hey, relax. V'Elokim, the real power in nature, Yevakesh Tanirdav, wants the Torah. So even though you think you're in control of the rules and laws of nature, and you got it all, yeah, you got everything covered, that's not true. The Torah, the will that Hashem has to bring out the Torah, will outsmart you and will push you in corners and in places that you never thought you could be in. Okay, so when people, people think, a lot of people think that they're on autopilot, and comes a curveball and back, a smack in the face. You don't understand where it comes. Unexpected, boom. What just happened? What just happened now? So according to the Seforno, is Hashem's desire of the Torah, okay, of the presence of your Torah. So he will create a shock that will enable the person to be able to want to do a reset, to be able to put in the train back on the rails and follow the path. According to the Metzudat David, right, is HaKadosh Baruch Hu through nature giving you a slap so that you can redirect yourself. And it's like you're on a GPS, yeah? This is Hashem's Yevakesh et Anirdav is the GPS. It's where you have to. And when you go in your direction, you're making a left instead of making a right. You're just rerouting, right? Just rerouting.
Rob, where did I learn that there's this concept that if we're off the path with Hashem, He nudges us. If we go off again, He nudges you a little harder, and He keeps going. And it's something to do with illness and punishment, where Hashem just wants you to get back on the track.
That's right.
But where is that? Where
there's many places. It's in the Zohar. It's in Ma'amar Chazal in Pirkei Avot. There's a lot of Ma'amarim. Yeah, it's called on Maseret Brachot. Okay, Im yavo nisayon ala adam yipashpesh ma'asav. When there's a test, you have to look into your actions. That means that your action drifted you. That's exactly this concept. Yevakesh et anirdav. Yevakesh is you ask for it. Bakasha, right? You ask for it. Hashem asks for it. So when He asks for it, there has to be an answer, right? It's an interaction. It's a direct interaction between Hashem, between nature and man.
Right, and I guess even Rambam is saying that it fits under Rambam's philosophy because
for sure he does.
Because it's saying if you are righteous and you're inviting Hashem into your life, the righteous are judged a little bit more critically, which means that if the righteous go off the path, Hashem intervenes and nudges you to get back on track.
Well, that's part of nature. Part of the rules of nature, according to the Rambam, is that there is the will of God to find him.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
ועוד ראיתי תחת השמש, and I also saw under the sun, מקום המשפט שמה הרשע, ומקום הצדק שמה הרשע. And he says, however, you have to be careful. ועוד ראיתי תחת השמש, I found under the sun that, and we understand the nefesh and the ruach, right? מקום המשפט, where you see jurisdiction, shama haresha, that's where you're going to find corruption. Umekom hatzedek, and when you want to find justice, shama harasha, there is the rasha. Okay? Meaning that you cannot rely on man-made jurisdiction and laws and think that if there are laws that have been introduced, okay, they are the law. Vadai that you have to follow the laws, yeah. But you cannot think that it is clean and pure.
When it's man-made,
it's not a genuine system. Be careful of the mishpat and the tzedek that is under the sun. Because no matter what the law will be, okay, the one who introduced the law had a personal interest, or the person that's dealing with the law can benefit from that. So the only law you can actually embrace, knowing that is a law that is pure and that has nothing to do with the nefesh or the ruach, is the Torah, because it's not a man-made law, and nature, because it's not a man-made law. So if you're able to learn the law of nature and the law of the Torah, then you will find the real tzedek, the real justice, the emet, something you cannot rely on when it's man-made. That's the message. On a more personal message, basically what Shlomo Melech tells us is, don't come up with your own laws. Because even if you think that you're being loyal, or if you think that you're being just, there is in it wickedness, and there's also a place for you to identify the Rasha when it might not be a Rasha.
Is that speaking about like creating a law between man and man, or is that
yes.
creating? So it's not just an interpretation of the Torah that you want to change. It could be a law that's outside of the Torah. He's telling you, don't even make it.
Correct.
Okay.
Amarti ani belibi, and I told to my heart, right? Amarti ani belibi, meaning I came to the conclusion that what? That et tzaddik ve'et harasha yishpot ha'elokim. Hashem judges, or again, ha'elokim, referring to Baal Kol HaKochot Kulam, Hashem that interacts with humanity through nature, right? Judges the tzaddik and the rasha. Ki et echol hefetz ve'al kol ha'ma'aseh sham. Hashem has his judgment for everything and every moment. Okay? The chefetz is different than the ma'aseh. Chafetz is something you will, something you want to do. Ha-ma'aseh is something you actually do. Comes Shlomo HaMelech and says, I came to the understanding, okay, based on what? On my acknowledgement that laws and jurisdiction made by man has wickedness in it. So what does that mean? That means that Shlomo HaMelech was able to go and understand the interest that a person had when he made a law, right? So the law might seem good, might look good, but the purpose of that law might be wicked. Okay? Good? So says Shlomo HaMelech, and you should know that Kadosh Baruch Hu not only judges actions, but he also judges the will, the interest, what you have in your heart. Now, although we know that En HaKadosh Baruch Hu mitzaref machshava le'maaseh, when a person decides, it's a Gemara, when a person decides to do avera, but he doesn't do the avera, right? He's not punished for it, only if he does the action. En HaKadosh Baruch Hu mitzaref machshava le'maaseh. So the Chaura, this is a contradiction, because here Shlomo HaMelech says Hashem judges you for your actions and for your
will. Right, if you desire to do an avera, even if you didn't do it, Hashem knows.
Oh, very good. So again, if you pay attention to the wording of the Shlomo HaMelech, he uses the word ha'elokim. Ha'elokim refers to Hashem's behavior in nature, meaning nature will punish you. Maybe Olam Haba, no. HaKadosh Baruch Hu will not punish you for an emotion, only for an action.
What's the characteristic of the name Elokim with Hashem? Because I know each name of Hashem represents a different attribute.
Elokim is the Baal Kol HaKochot Kulam, is the presence of God that is hidden through nature, that controls nature.
And which one is the compassionate attribute of Hashem?
Yud Ke Vav Ke. Yud Ke Vav Ke.
Havaya. Okay, so that's how,
okay.
Right. So it's saying that the term of using Elohim is not judgment here.
It is. Is the Hashem's presence in nature. So Hashem, the rules and regulations of God in nature. Okay? So what he's saying that although it's true that in terms of the Torah, in terms of Olam Haba, in terms of the Zechuyot, the reward and punishment in Shamayim, you are not accountable for emotions, for what you wanted to do. You're only accountable for what you did. However, the impact of what you want to do is felt in nature. Meaning when a person wants to be bad, he will generate bad. When a person wants to be good, he generates good.
Right, that's why we
if they have no self-control.
Ken.
Right, because isn't there a concept of there's a specific korban that they were giving in the parasha?
Specific what?
That we had for sinful thought. Korban. Isn't there a specific korban in the Torah that says you give for just sinful thoughts?
Yes. Now, but correct. But it's very good what you're saying. It's actually very good. It's actually very, very good. Also, that's what Shachar said. He said, the Chachamim say that the direction you want to take, right? Mina Shamayim, we put you on that direction. Right? What does that mean? This is the pshat. That it's not HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself that Kivyachol, right? It's not a divine intervention. It's just that Hashem's intervention, Hashem in nature, right, reacts to what you feel also.
Yes. Yes, because I remember reading a Rashi that it says that sinful thoughts ultimately make you gravitate towards the action. So the more thoughts you have, the closer you get to the action. So the Torah tells you to stop yourself from the thoughts, to put a fence in front of yourself to getting to the actions.
Correct. And it comes to Melech and explain. You just explained to us, how does that happen? How does the thought brings you closer to the action? Is that the thought triggers a certain energy, okay?
In nature,
that will basically bring that event closer to you.
Yes.
Right? And now you can understand also clearly the concept of Ayin Hara. How somebody that has an evil eye can generate an energetic force that will trigger consuming something from somebody else. And by the way, it's black on white written by the Chazon Ish, by Rabbeinu Yonah, by the Rav Hida.
And doesn't it say also that if for you're not supposed to give, if you're, let's say, somebody that's worried about other people having ayin hara on yourself, you're not supposed to give that thought because that also invites it?
Correct. Correct. That's right. If you believe in it and if you are worried about it,
you're inviting the nature.
A vulnerability. You generate a vulnerability that through that negative energy to penetrate your life.
Yes.
Okay. Amarti ani belibi. So I said in my heart. Lashon hara also, sure. Lashon hara it's even more because you speak about it. Nachon.
You're giving it life.
The emotion and the head. Correct.
Lashon hara, you're giving it life. You're literally breathing life into something.
Correct. But even no. What we're saying is even somebody that listens to it and doesn't say anything, but he listens and he accepts it.
Yes.
Even the person, that's the reason why the person that three people are being punished in Lashon hara. The one that says it, the one that hears it, and the one that's talking about it. Because he triggered the energy. אמרתי אני בליבי על דברת בני אדם לאדם לברם האלוהים ולראות שהם בהמה המה להם. So here comes the pasuk. Okay, but that's a little bit. Maybe you know what? Maybe we're going to stop here because that's another heavy one. That's another heavy one. Okay, so here, if we resume, okay, Shlomo Melech, Abba Shalom, now introduced the concept of time, introduced the place a man plays with time, the impact on time, right? The concept of basically of what we discussed at the time of Mazalot, the importance of seeing how the time, how the space introduces space, and how space interacts with man, the ability of man to choose to see God in space, and how space interacts with you when a person drifts from the Emet or is in the Emet. And the level of impact a person really has. Not only an action, not only speaking, but even a thought, a mahshava. Atzuma, very, very powerful.
Amazing. I love this. I love this. These last few pesukim we learned today.
Baruch Hashem. Baruch Hashem.
Good stuff.
All right.
Thank you, Rav.
Thank you so much, Rob. Love you.
Love you all. Ezrat
I love
Hashem.
you.
Thursday, yeah?
Yes, God willing.